Ladies and gentlemen, this is our non-spoiler review for Peacemaker Season 2. So, this is hot off the heels from the amazing Superman, dare I say the best superhero film this year. I have a whole slew of panelists here today to talk about this season and what we've seen thus far. Some of us have seen a little bit further, like 5 episodes in. Some of us have seen maybe like up to 3 episodes. Either way, we have a general consensus on our thoughts on this season thus far. Now, I will say for me personally, I did not watch the finale, but I do know that at the very end, a certain league showed up. And so yeah, that threw me off. But now things are very different because we are in the DC Studios era. So I'm going to bring everybody on. What's going on, everybody?
Hey, what up?
Lots to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
It is. So for you guys, I want you guys, I guess, individually let me know, coming from last season to this season, is it a natural progression? Is it better? Is it not? I'll let you guys give your general synopsis on what you think. I'll start with Vanessa.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty smooth transition. Like, I like the timestamps that were used throughout the season was actually super helpful. And I like the way they just smoothly transitioned into from the League to the Justice Gang. It made sense to me, and I liked it. I had no issues. I was kind of wondering what they were gonna do with the switch and the change, but with the whole Amanda Waller fallout, like it feels like they're honestly it doesn't feel like we're in a like it doesn't feel like a big shift at all. So it's nice.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. Mike, what do you think about?
In terms of the transition from season 1 and season 2, this was a good recap. Normally with HBO shows, that multiple seasons, they do a nice recap in the beginning, but this was smart. And for some people, they might call it cheap in terms of the way they did it. If you've seen the finale, I was like, oh, okay. It's like subtle changes, but I've watched the CW DC universe. It's nothing new. It's when they do universe resets and all this stuff narratively, they just have a mechanism just to play that. Oh, this has always happened. So yeah, but I think that was a good way in terms of if you are a fan of season 1, you're smoothly transitioned to season 2 in this new DC universe.
Yeah, no, for sure. Ronan, your thoughts?
I like to echo my friend's sentiments that like if you've been here from the get go, it's a smooth transition and yet fun to know where we're going and what's changed because we don't live in a vacuum. Stuff has changed, and from what we've seen thus far, they've made it work, and that's all because characters and story is first. Plot is the background, and I really really appreciate that because there's jokes in here and there's some stuff that I'm like whoa, but at the same time something that outshines those jokes is the heart and the moments of just like don't cut away, just stay with these characters, see how they feel. We'll get to the set pieces, we'll get to the action later, but let's how do these characters feel and why are we taking the time to watch the second season.
Yeah, I guess we can go ahead and straight into it. The emotional trajectory of this season versus the first season. For me personally, I feel like I'm more connected with the characters, not just because we've lived and breathed with them from the first season. I think that there's an intentionality about how the story is being progressed, and then each of them are all individually dealing with their own elevations of who they have to become and the decisions that they've made. Even more so, you feel the fallout of Amanda Waller and what is kind of laid on them as individuals. But I just think that there's a huge ramp up as far as the narrative and even how they handle a lot of the emotional beats. A lot of surprises. I mean, you guys just don't know what we're holding back. If you want to know the spoiler stuff, you can see our individual reviews. Go check those out. But I did want to ask everybody else, what did you guys think about from the emotional side of how they're handling the trajectory of these characters and also the narrative? Mike, I'll let you go first.
I'll say from a emotional narrative, I felt there was plots that were, I felt that were definitely anticipated, and I feel like they delivered in terms of you kind of giving that satisfaction of tying up certain loose ends. With some of these characters, particularly with Peacemaker and Rick Flag Senior. The fact that we added Frank Grillo into the DC universe and making him the senior and not like a recasting of Junior, it's like they're continually trying to continue on that thread that they established in the Suicide Squad. So which I think it came out like 4 years ago. Now we're finally getting this plot line fulfilled. So and I feel like they handled that. Now to me was really the most interesting thing. But two, that after season 1, again, you're still dealing with these characters that still dealing with some baggage that they're carrying, and which with James is that he is strong at doing characters that have emotional baggage and might also have situational humor to kind of use that as a way of coping with that, right? But I will say that to me, that was the most interesting thing of this season, was just seeing how they're going to allow that plot, and then how other characters, as things get revealed, be like, oh, this was interesting. That actually you think that these characters full on through in the first season, and season 2, like, no, I did not know about this character. And I think that was smart on James Gunn to wait for this season 2, to deliver that that plot point for certain characters, and I won't say who, but I thought that was definitely delivered well and executed well. But I'll say in terms of that, again, I can go into my negatives on it, but those are in terms of me, my positives about the emotional transition going into season 2 is that I feel there's more emotional weight here than it was in season 1.
Yeah. Vanessa?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there is a lot more. We're going a lot more in depth in the characters. I think like it's so interesting to see Harcourt unable to function as a normal person there, and all of the different ways she's like confronting that, and like I don't know. I just enjoy her a lot more this season than I did the first season. I all of the characters feel more like people than they did in the first season. There's they're actually going through shit. Like Chris is spiraling every episode because he knows he wants something. He literally, the grass is greener on the other side type vibes. Like he wants what he can't have, and he thinks that he's going to get it by doing increasingly stupid shit. But you get him. I get him. Like I think it's a very human response to wanting something you can't have, and I think it's a smart way to do it. And it makes me feel like at least the John Cena and like the Jennifer Holland, it feels like they do care about the characters that they're playing, and it's nice to like see that. And even like Economos and Adrian, they're all like dealing with their own little shit, and I think the actors are having fun playing up those like emotional like tug of wars. Like Economos working for Argus, and Adrian like missing his friends and like being like feeling so deeply left out anytime he's like, you guys are hanging out, and like I get that. Everyone gets that. Like, everyone understands the feeling of FOMO when your friends are getting together and without you, and you miss everyone. And especially when you're used to seeing them every single day, like all of the characters are going through some relatable stuff. And I think that like, and Leota's like, Lee is just like in complete denial of her life falling apart. I think it's all just like really, really well done. There's obviously like stuff that doesn't work. Some of the new characters I'm completely perplexed by, but I think that like our main characters are like really just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. Ronan?
Yeah, of what I've seen thus far, like again, there are jokes, yes, some hit, some don't hit, and that's something that you have to deal with when you sign up with someone who what their style and trajectory is, and you just hope that some of the stuff they've grown and have gotten better at does get enhanced, and they do get enhanced in some stuff. Again, the emotional stuff, man, I was so shocked at how after each episode I dug it more than the previous one, and I found something new in it. And to echo the sentiments that, listen, Leota Adebayo is just like, this group is lucky to have her, who's just checking in on everybody. And which also says about where she is at in her life right now. And what does that mean of like, okay, it's cool that you're taking care of everybody else, but also don't forget to take care about yourself. And that also leads into when you get to Mila Harcourt, who has been like just a shock of how much I love and care about the character and want to see more of her. And again, someone that wasn't too familiar in the comics, but the fact that you can grab a character like that and just expand on it and not rely on big familiar names, much like what Peacemaker was when we were introduced to him. I love that strategy and that just chance to just swing it and see what we can do with it that hasn't been done before. And coping mechanisms. That's something that like I love when it's really brought into characters, especially those who are in the meta-human or superhero pop culture sense in both in world and in both our world, and what you can do with a character like that, and how much, even though he was charming, I despised him by the end of the movie of the Suicide Squad, but how much I cared to sympathize with him in season 1, and now I'm just like, dude, please chill out, just sit down and let it out. Don't run for the exit strategy. Don't run for the easy way out. And for those who haven't seen it, when you get to watch, especially those first few episodes, what I'm talking about like, this feels wholesome and right. And I'm glad we're experiencing this, but this also feels like a cheat. And that's something that's supposed to be learning for in the characters. And stylistically, I love what Greg Matola, whatever the director is, who's helping out James with this season. I really appreciate what he brought. And I told this to Sam, like, I forgot how much I missed this show. And I missed this show. For me.
No, I missed it in the sense that I hadn't even thought about it in a while until like I saw Superman, until I saw Creature Commandos. And I mean, to be fair, like with Creature Commandos, I was like, where are they going to even hit this? Is this even going to work? And James knows how to do character progression really well. And I know he knows comedy, he knows horror, but I know he knows how to tell a story, and an entertaining one at that, whatever he does. But I did want to ask you guys, was there a standout character, whether they were new, old? Only reason why I bring that up is because they brought a character in here, and when he showed up, I think it was like the second episode, I was dying laughing. And I'm talking about Tim Meadows. That man, he cracked me up. And yes, this is the ladies' man, if y'all don't know, but to me, his comedic timing was hilarious. He has some of the funniest things, and that's not a shot at other people not working with comedy. Some comedy stuff worked, some didn't, but his subtleties I thought were just hilarious. But in terms of like different characters, y'all have like a standout or anybody that y'all felt like y'all really enjoyed? And I'll let Mike go first because he doesn't seem like he has one.
Oh, I got my popcorn ready.
I'll say Michael Rooker, but for all the wrong reasons.
Damn.
It's funny. Yeah, you mentioned Tim Meadows with that because I love Tim Meadows. And with this, but I'll say going to staying positive and answering your question. I will go with I think John. Because before the season came out, James was praising John in terms of his level as an actor and how his growth as an actor from season 1 to season 2. And you definitely see that, and especially where you on paper he might have been fitting as an archetype of a character, but what's happening in season 2 and the situations that he's getting himself involved in is causing him to react in a way where it's like that's realistic, in a way where how this character, his life, everything he has gone through, is that some of the decisions that he make is like I absolutely understand why he's doing this. I understand why he's feeling the way he is, or why he's reacting or responding this way. And it's valid. I think it's valid in terms of what he's gone through. But more importantly, what the influence to all the other characters have had with Chris in season 1, and now you get to season 2 with this, Frank Grillo bringing one of his darkest moments, which was killing Rick Flag Jr. That comes back up, and it's more like, well, there's other things. Not just that. I also I just lost my dad. When I was a kid, I lost my brother, and by my own hand or whatever, and I'm holding myself with all that trauma. And then when you have an opportunity to go to a place where the grass might be greener, would you have that choice? And I think that, for anybody who've gone through anything, at least half of what this character has gone through, you probably would have done exactly what he's done, in terms of making that choice. But again, it's also affecting his relations with people around him, where it's like, hey, we want you here. And he's like, no, there's nothing good here for me, or something like that, right? And some of us might feel that way with, girls with depression, mental illness, or anything, or grief. Again, it's like we're feeling that, hey, we want to find some form of escapism, and with that, it goes to a place where actually dealing with the problem front and center is actually the way of full growth. And I feel that that with John, I think he definitely and it shows in terms of his growth as an actor that he cares about this character. Because yes, from going from Suicide Squad, Suicide Squad to Peacemaker season 1, he definitely expand on this character. But I feel in season 2 he fully owned it in a way where he's not wearing a costume. Like, no, this is Chris as Peacemaker, but all his different layers and mentions of his background, that he has evolved in the person he was at Corto Matisse and in the Suicide Squad. So I gotta give a testament to John in terms of his growth and his dedication to the role.
Yeah, Ronan, did you have a standout character or a standout performance?
It's a tie between what John and Jennifer are doing, as respectively Christopher Smith and Emilia Harcourt. Like, I dug him in season 1, and of what I've seen thus far, I really, really do appreciate what they're doing with these characters. And again, I didn't, this before he played the character, this was a deep cut of a character that I had vaguely heard of. Same thing with Emilia Harcourt, and I vaguely heard of him, but I was just like, okay. Well, there's something to do with him, and I just wonder where they're going to go with him. And now I just want to see more. I want to see more, and that's a testament to both what John and Jennifer are giving us, and also what they're not afraid to do in the DCU era. And I love that. Again, I didn't bring that much baggage into them from stuff I had known prior as a kid, and yet I was just open to seeing what they're willing to offer in terms of a story. Again, there's elements that I'm like, okay, I get it at a point, but then some other stuff that outweighs it, and I'm like, whew, I did not expect to care for them, and hope that they, may try something out. But also, if they don't try something out, I understand that, because of what they've been hinting at since season 1, that they both have dark histories, and whether they're willing to share that, whether they're willing to make peace with it, no pun intended, or to just, stand by one another's shoulders, we'll see. And that says a lot about if they're willing to do that. And yeah, I love anytime we get to explore more of, especially what Christopher Smith has been through. And I'll leave it at that, because like I said, there are moments that I did get emotional, and I was just like, damn, man, I did not expect that in season 2 of this show.
Yeah, no, for sure. Vanessa, did you have any standouts?
Yeah, Harcourt is probably the best in the season. I think I said when we were watching, can't remember who I was watching with, but I remember being like, I feel like I'm like Harcourt and I are the same person. Like, it's hard to be a woman in a space that's male dominated, and to then be like expected to be a certain way, talk a certain way, act a certain way, and then people are like, when you do certain things, you're acting, and then they're slap you with like a, hey, you're fucking weird, or you're masculine, or to this or that. And it's like she's struggling with like a lot, and it's so fascinating to watch. And like I said before, she definitely has an addiction to violence and fighting, and she's trying to numb something. People who have addictions are trying to numb something. So it's fascinating to see her be like, Chris is so fucked up. He wears a clown suit. He's so blah, blah, blah. Like, she's like projecting a lot of her own insecurities onto Chris, which makes sense, as they like two broken people would find each other. But I think that they're like an end game couple. No, I don't think people that are that broken should end up together because they're only going to drag each other down. And I do not think that they're going to be self-improved enough to like have a great relationship. But I don't think that that's the point of the show. The point of the show is that these people are still heroes despite the fact that they're flawed. And I think that that's my favorite part about Hardcore, especially because she said she's tiny and she's like terrifying and she's got like dead shark eyes, but like she cares about her friends and like it shows in her interaction with them, like her conversations with Ads and with Adrian, and like it's just nice to see like her being soft with her friends. That's the only people she'll allow herself to be soft with, which is nice. But yeah, I would say Hardcore.
Yeah, no, I can completely agree with all those answers. As we're kind of rounding this out, I do want to kind of leave the floor open for any kind of negatives, or I mean, it's a tall order for one. We're talking about DC Studios, and at this point now, James, this is his third for DC Studios. Started with Creature Commandos. Technically, you could say he started with season 1, but this is very different because he had to fit everything in. It had to make sure that it flowed with the universe he's building upon. And I feel like he handled that perfectly with Superman. He handled that perfectly with Creature Commandos. But the question was it going to work with this show? And for me, I think he did. But I did want to give you guys like thoughts on, was there any negatives or anything that y'all didn't think that landed real briefly with this one? Go to Vanessa.
I know you guys haven't watched all. Wait, actually, okay. He was introduced in episode 3. I do not like the addition of Eagle Hunter, the Eagle Hunter character. There's so much about this character that is wrong, but it is also like so offensive. Like I feel like we don't need to go dip back into like 2002 fucking college toilet humor. Like I think we're like beyond that, and I just don't like this character. And I definitely think that because of the way that the bird character, fucking Eagly, the way that character is written is like they have to write this dumb shit into the show just to like balance out, like to give like Eagly an arch nemesis. Do we need to give the bird a fucking arch nemesis? No, I think this is the dumbest shit I've ever witnessed in the 2 seasons the show's been on. I don't like this character, and I'm really annoyed that they introduced it. And I hope that by the time we end the season, it's wrapped up in a way that is satisfactory. But we don't need side Eagly plots. We don't. It's the show is Peacemaker. Like the Eagle is it shouldn't even be a side character. It should be a prop. It is a prop. I'm tired of Eagly. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Ronan, did you have any negatives?
So I haven't gotten there yet, but I am a Michael Rooker fan. So we'll see. I probably by the end of the season, I'll be like, yep, Vanessa had a point, or yeah, I dug him. No, to me, again, I really, really dug a lot of what I've seen. My nitpicks might be just with some jokes, some humor. That again, it's a matter of how much the creator, the one who's running the show, is willing to go, and also how much he's willing to hold back, and not just throw something for the sake of just throwing a one-off that hopefully might later turn into a meme or a TikTok video one out. Like I hope it doesn't turn that way. And again, I haven't seen all of it yet, but yeah, some of the jokes didn't land for me, and I was like, okay, moving on. Let's get to the more character stuff. And yeah, that's for me as of now. That's all I've seen. That you're like, some of it doesn't work. Some of it does work. And again, some of it was already teased in the trailers they've put out. So they probably don't pack as much punch as they did when I first saw them in trailers. But that's about it. And also, again, in the flip side, kudos on the world building stuff. A lot of the world building stuff, I was just like, ooh, that's a nice add a little bit of protein spring right there. Just throw and be like, all right, this is where we're at right now in this world. So yeah.
All right, Mike, what was your negatives?
Oh man. Okay. So I feel Phil, if you're watching this, I owe you $20. Okay. I just saw Superman with my father last Saturday by the time of this recording, right before getting ready to head on digital. And then I jump into this, right? I feel that even though that this universe is going to have different variety of tones and layers, where it might be comedy, a more serious tone or more comedic tone, whatever, right? Which is fine with me. However, I feel that if you jump from Superman immediately to this, it's going to be very, very jarring for you. I would not recommend this show to children whatsoever. I feel the criticism that people have with Superman that I think is not justified. I feel that some of the things might be justified in this show. What I mean by that is that there's certain comedic James Gunn. I don't even want to say James Gunn isms, because James Gunn, I feel like his identity, his watermark on films, again, I think to me is a plus as a fan of his. But in this film, this series, I felt that it felt like he went overboard to a point where he didn't have a limit. There was like a line, a bar that James Gunn, he's gone left field everything before, but I felt this season kind of crossed the line, especially with pertaining to Michael Rooker's character. I don't know what the whole idea was to give Eagly a arch nemesis, like we need one, but that's like giving like Crypto a villain like the Condiment King or something. I don't know. That's how ridiculous it sounds, right? And like or like it doesn't make sense. Also, yeah, shout out to Condiment King in the DC universe. That'd be interesting. Also, like with the comedic nature of this, okay, I felt that there was great, strong concepts here. Again, going to the story beat of Rick Flag Jr. to Senior, right, with the whole situation of Peacemaker killing his son, right, and also the fact that Adebayo, like, you outed your own mother, Amanda Waller, Viola Davis, the queen herself. You outed her out. And by doing that was a byproduct of destroying everyone near you that you care about, their personal lives, because of that. And I felt that at least the episodes I have seen, it feels like it is glossed over that on terms of the actual impact. Yes, we have had Harcourt, she dealing with her thing. And then, we have, Adebayo, she dealing with things in her personal life. But I felt like there should be a way more deeper impact than what they're glossing this over, because it just felt like this was complete shift, and that I felt that would add more emotional weight than it did in the show. But going back to the comedy, there's a lot of jokes in here that do not land, and it's a lot of things that almost turn me off a little bit, in a way of the jokes like, this is not even funny. Who thought this was funny? That's what, and it's questions I'm like, I saw who love the first season, and there's things this season I absolutely love, but then there's moments I'm just like, what the hell were you thinking? Like, and it's not to be disrespectful, like, oh, James Gunn, how can you do this? I'm just like, anybody tell you, like, no, this is not even funny? Like, Tim Meadows, I love Tim Meadows. Every time he opens his mouth, there's probably maybe one joke or two that I laughed at. Everything else is just like, he is like I think, what is the point of that character? What is the point of that character? And the Tim Meadows is a fantastic actor. I love Tim Meadows. Okay, and I'm just like, it's like what narrative purpose he fit in this? And again, there's not no spoiler. There is one thing that a story note here as a joke of a medical condition that is absolutely fucking ridiculous, that I can't even repeat it because it's so stupid. It's absolutely stupid that it's like, and then you keep going on with this joke over and over and over again. It's just like, what were you like? I'm just like, this is funny to you. It's just damn stupid. Like, and I think this, to me, there's a lack of there's imbalance in this season, where in season one you had a balance with terms of comedic nature because of those certain characters. John Cena was a type of character where he fit just like Economos and Adebayo and Harcourt, and then their dynamic was creating that beautiful synergy. And I felt in here, even though you have moments of that, it's just like now you added more other archetypes of characters that we already had in season one, and now you're like, oh no, now we're gonna have 5 other characters be idiots. Like it just like it's like to me it's imbalance. It creates a level of imbalance that I think where it throws the mood of the show where it's like that's what I love. I love these characters, and that's all you need to have. Supporting characters. Rick Flag is great. Other some actual DC lore characters that you have in here if you're comic readers, and it's like they're just secondary, like not even secondary, third like level characters, like sea level, and I'm just like, why are you not expanding on this character? They got roots, you know, for a good foundation for stuff in the future. So, but yeah, but that's to me. I just felt like I felt there's level imbalance here, and but I think after what him doing Superman and going jumping to this is like no one tell you, hey, you can do whatever you want, man. You can't do it wrong. And it's like, and you're right. He can do whatever you want, but at the same time, as a critic, I gotta be intellectually honest and not be disingenuous. Even though I'm a fan and supporter of James, I felt this show. Though I feel like there's emotional moments that have improved from season one, I feel there's an imbalance of humor and consistency that I felt that was a strong point of season one. That which, unlike in season two, it just becomes reckless in terms of his comedic timing. That's just my opinion. But yeah, you're muted, son.
For me, on negatives, it was more so the comedy. There were certain moments that it just kind of didn't land. Tim Meadows was not that, but this is the thing. I think that there were more emotional, intentional moments to the narrative, and there's a lot that we're holding out, guys. We're trying to make sure this is non-spoiler. We haven't even talked about a whole separate section of what's actually happening and the trajectory of where this is going. And a part of that is a trajectory also of the DC Studios universe as a whole. So we're keeping that under wraps. But I think that this is not as funny as the first season. I can agree with that. There were some unnecessary scenes that kind of happened. It kind of threw me off a little bit. It felt like I was watching The Boys for a second. But I think those are kind of the only nitpicks that I really kind of have. I mean, the action and the progression of the actual intentional side of where this narrative is going, I think is better. I think that the first season, this is no different from what the first season already implied. Anything and everything could go. I mean, when you got characters that are in this that are just like killing aimlessly without worrying about ramifications, or characters that are just jumping around, I know what I'm getting. I knew what this second season was going to be. I didn't think it was going to be better than the first season. I think around the time that I got to the third episode, just as far as I've watched, I think that episode is one of the strongest episodes than even the first season. And I haven't completely fleshed out the narrative yet, but I know exactly what I was going to get going into this one. I think it's just a question of how this is going to round out with the DC Studios. There are going to be characters that are going to be left on the table, I think, intentionally. To what Mike's saying, like there are certain huge characters that are not being utilized, but that's just yet. So I don't necessarily want those characters to be utilized in the show about Peacemaker, but I'm curious to see where they're actually going to go from a narrative standpoint. But what we'll do, we'll kind of just close out and give our final rating of the season as a whole. I'll tell you guys personally, this is right now better to me than the first season. And I enjoyed the first season. It was never something that I was ever intentionally wanting to watch. Again, I never finished like the last episode personally, and not because it was bad. There's so many other shows going on. But from what I've seen from these last 3 episodes, from the first 3 episodes in this season, I'm all the way there. I'm kind of invested. And I think that the psychological side of how you deal with fallout, like how you make a decision and there's ramifications behind those decisions, you get to see what that actually looks like on all of them on an emotional level. And I think that how they handle Chris's, and like you said, with Jenna's performance, like, and how she's handling her character, those are deeper sides of addiction that I just don't think that most comic book movies would even try to touch on, let alone shows. So I think that is a really high mark. For me, this is like a 9 out of 10 right now. Like I'm really actually enjoying it. I'm just curious to see if I'm actually going to elevate that. But from what I saw with the third episode, that was peak to me. I just really enjoyed it. But Where are you guys at? Final thoughts and review. I'll leave it at Vanessa.
Final thoughts. I like this season better than the first season so far. I hope that there are some things I don't like, but overall, I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. I love multiversal stuff. I love all the new weird things that are happening. I don't know if I'll rate it super high. I think it's a solid B right now, but I think it has the potential to be higher. Just gotta see what the remaining episodes look like. But yeah, I like it so far.
Yeah. Ronan, what are your final thoughts and review?
Final thoughts review is that of what I've seen, which I think is only like maybe a third of the show, is that I like it just as much as I liked the first season, and I appreciate some of the stuff where they go with the characters. And again, I'm at point just hearing a throwaway line in terms of setting characters, I got giddy because I'm like, oh snap, that means that's a potential. There's a corner of the DC universe where we can maybe explore that one day, but it's not being said just to bring down the main story. It's just like it's something just to paint the DCU even more wider, and I appreciate that. And yeah, of what I've seen, I love what Jennifer Holland is doing, what John Cena is doing, and that's all I'm at liberty to say without spoiling stuff. And I'm very interested to see how people feel about the intro, the dance intro, comparisons to the first season's dance intro. I'm very interested to see how people feel about that. And yeah, man, I can't wait to hear people's thoughts about it. It is worth it. It is something to talk about, something to watch.
Yeah. Last but not least, Mike.
Yeah, so in terms of rating, yeah, I'm not gonna give it as high, obviously, but I think again, I need to see the rest of the season to see where this all wraps up, because there's story points here that are far better than a butterfly, secret alien invasion, that just on paper, like this is a more emotional story, right? But for me, I felt like it really took me to episode 3 where I felt like where I'm sitting back in my chair, and then when we get to episode 3, then I'm leaning like, oh, there we go. All right, that's it. There's James Gunn. But I think if you guys are a fan of Peacemaker, the season 1, and also again with Superman going into another installment within the DC universe, again, I do think we are on a good momentum, and again, we are on the all-time high. And I think this is a good time to be a DC fan. But also, I think there's some fundamental things to give a constructive criticism that I'm seeing early Universal problems that I need to see how these next few projects are going to be tonally, to see how this overall universe is going to be, where other writers and other directors are handling other projects away from James, but even though James is overseeing it. But again, I think a shout out to the cast, Daniel Brooks and John Cena, and the rest of the cast too, Frank Grillo. I think that they all did a really good job with this and dedicated to these characters. I'm looking forward to see how they're going to wrap things up to hopefully kind of change my opinion. But I kind of give it probably a 6.5 out of 10 right at the moment. But I think certain episodes I will give, just as singular episodes, I'll give them way higher, like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Really potentially episode 3. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season.
All right, you guys, you heard it here first. Our non-spoiler reviews. Again, we go through and break down every single episode. So if you want like those breakdowns, whether it's episode 3, 1, 5, we're going to be doing the individual spoiler-filled discussion. So stay tuned for that. Those are coming real quick. Where can everybody find you guys' content? Vanessa, where can everybody find your content?
You can find me at Vanessa Shark on everything, VanessaShark.com. You can check out my reviews / interviews on multiverseofcolor.com. Yeah. Also here, I'll be reviewing. Bye.
Jedi Mike, where can everybody find your content?
You can find me here on TeamJVS, but you also can find me here at Jedi Mike 7, brought to you by Solo Media. Got some reviews, interviews, and stuff coming up very, very soon. But yeah, you can find me everywhere on socials at Jedi Mike 7.
Thank you, sir, for joining. And last but not least, Ronan Unchained, where can everybody find your content, man?
You can find me here at TeamJVS and also on my channel at Ronan Unchained on YouTube, on all the socials. Just dropped some Alien Earth stuff, and if my timing is right, you may or may not see a DC video concerning Peacemaker, Superman, and beyond that I have cooking in the pipeline.
Ooh, I'm actually interested in that. Well, you guys, we'll be back again. Go and check out our spoiler-filled discussions. You'll see us all there. But we'll be back a little bit later on, guys. Peace.
Filing out the top of I can see the skyline, 50-mile radius on the